Thank you so much for joining. We have some phenomenal content, customer reviews. They're absolutely critical to grow your business. So many companies just need to improve their customer reviews. And so today we're gonna cover all the great tips and strategies on how to do this. So here is some things we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the best tools in the business. We're going to talk about multi-channel communication using email, SMS, and so on. Some really practical steps on how to maximize your customer reviews, how to create an entire company culture. And I'm really going to unpack that. And then just the importance of acknowledging every single review wherever they get posted. And I'll tell you why that's important as well. So again, thanks for joining us. Because we have great content, it's really going to impact your company going forward. Like there's no way around these customer reviews. They're here to stay. And so as long as you have your business, you're going to want to really know the best practices for customer reviews, the most efficient way to get them and to get the most of them and to get great ones. So that's what we're going to cover. So if you could, shut down your those things that make noises and annoy us and attract our attention, right? It's the world that we live in. Quick overview, what we do to help our clients is we first focus on a website that converts leads. People are spending all sorts of money all over there and they're going to get funneled into your website. And you don't want website visitors, you want phone calls, right? And you want web forms because you want to put a sales rep in front of a customer so you can offer your products and services. And we do a lot with local SEO. Everyone loves those free leads. So Google actually does still allow some places where you can get free leads, even though they like to squeeze everybody and push them towards Google Ads. Google Ads is still super important. Most of our clients are doing Google Ads as well. And some are doing Facebook ads, but again, your online reputation is absolutely critical because you could spend all the money in the world in advertising. And when they go to check you out, if your reputation isn't there, they're probably going to be looking elsewhere. So you spend all this money, you want to be able to nurture your leads. You want a social presence because people feel more comfortable with companies that are active socially. And then you want to, like what we do is we want you to know your ROI. So we track where all these leads are coming from. And you could say, okay, this is coming from local SEO. This is coming from Google Ads. Okay, this is coming directly. Like somehow they heard of us. Maybe this is a repeat customer or referral or something. And they just went right to your website. So we like to differentiate those and show you. And we actually give you a dashboard and you can hear all your calls that come in. So that's how we roll. That's how we support our clients. A little bit about my background. I have owned and run this company for 12 years now. Before this, I just hung up with a gentleman, by the way, who he called. They said, I'm sick and tired of my agencies that don't understand basic waterproofing. So I throw this in. Before this, I owned a basic waterproofing company for 15 years in the Chicagoland area. I know what's needed to run a very successful company. We are award-winning Google Premier Partner, which puts us in the top 3% of all partners. I'm a co-author of a book called Intro to Marketing Automation. Got a new one coming out, hopefully in the next month or two. I've been a longtime board member, former president of the Basement Health Association, currently an officer, and I'm also the liaison between Basement Health and Angie. But again, most importantly, we work with basement waterproofing and foundation repair companies. That's our niche. That's who we support, and that's what we specialize in. A couple quick pictures. John, who's worked with us for 13 years now or so. We've been out to Google. I've been out there 3 times. John came with a couple times, and here's a shot of the board of directors way back when. But let me ask the question, why? The old important 3-lettered word, why? Why are customer reviews so critically important? Again, you spend all the money in the world on advertising, and advertising, people are typically spending 10 to 15, sometimes up to 18, 20% of their budget on just advertising. And if you don't have your online reputation in line, that money could really be going to waste. It could be used a lot better when you have an online reputation to support the fine work that you're doing. So it could just drag down all the other spend that you do on the different lead sources. So I come across some contractors sometimes, and they're like the best guys in the world. They so care about their company and the work that they do. They just take great pride in what they do. But I got to tell you, like, they haven't figured out customer reviews, and they see these bigger companies, and they sometimes are in homes, and they hear these nightmare stories of these big companies that took advantage of them, things that they would never even think of doing. But the bigger companies have this stellar online reputation because they figured out kind of the habits and routines and company culture and all the different strategies to get a lot of customer reviews. And sometimes these bigger companies have figured out ways to kind of disguise some of their, sometimes, quite honestly, just their poor craftsmanship. So whether you're big or whether you're small, at Rainmaker, we want to support you in getting as many quality customer reviews, because quite honestly, most everyone out there today, you can't hide from the internet. You've got to do high quality work for customers. The internet has raised the bar, and they've raised the accountability factor. So there's really no more hiding. And if you do bad work out there, it shows up on the internet, and then you got to work extra hard to try to bury those customer reviews. So that's just how it works. But more like on the positive, like, opportunity side of things. First of all, there's a lot of tools that you could use to leverage to get good customer reviews. It's a competitive space. Probably the biggest one is Bird Eye. It's a little bit more expensive as well. And their sales reps, not just Bird Eye, but everybody, won't tell you this. They work really hard to try to differentiate themselves, but they all basically do about the same things. They usually, not always, but usually can text a request for a review. They could email a review. They typically have a little bit of very, very generic marketing automation where they might send 1 or 2 reviews or 3 reviews in a row. And sometimes the more expensive ones will have a dashboard where you could see what's going on, and you could respond to the reviews because it will notify you right away. And some of them will have an app. They're all kind of the same. There's not huge differences. For our clients, we include this in our service. We have our own customer review system, and we teach our clients, contractors, how to use it. And our clients get great results from it. We do have automation in there. We do have notification and dashboard and so on, kind of does some of the similar things. What we don't have is an app, which we don't, I don't think you need an app to get a customer review. So, you really want your online reputation to speak for themselves. People, I'm going to cover some stats here in a second, but it's something like 88 or 90% of people will look online before making their decision. And what you want to do is you want to be that go-to company. You want that stellar reputation on, like, who should we go with? Man, we're going to go with this company because they have, wherever we look, they have great reviews. And it's not just, you have the most, but you're also looking for the right sentiment. You're looking for those special words that really describe your company, that personal touch, that extra effort that you put in, because those things stand out. So I hope you're kind of concluding here, online reviews really do significantly matter, just in so many ways. So depending on the stats, it's between 84 and like 90% of the people trust online reviews, but 84% of the people trust reviews as much as a personal recommendation. So if I were to ask, 1,000 contractors, what's your favorite lead? They typically will say it's a referral lead. And then it's like, well, why? It's like, well, the sales process is shorter because they already trust us and they've already kind of been introduced to what our service is. The closing percentage is the highest because they trust us. And typically it's the largest average sale. That's where referrals are. If you look at your reports, it's probably what you'll find. So it's really surprising to see that if 84% of the people are trusting online reviews from total strangers as much as a personal recommendation, boy, you know, all the more reason why you really want your online reputation to be stellar. And you need to have all those things in place. And 77% of consumers think that reviews are more, if they're more than 3 months old, they're not relevant. So that's a really important stat because you want current reviews. All the more reason why you need to have these systems in place. You need the company culture that, like, every single job, you're trying to get a review. You just work in the system. I know some people have reviews that they say, oh, in our market, it's not that competitive. People aren't really, getting a lot of reviews. We have like 20 of them. It's all good. And they might not have had a review in, half a year or a year, and they're kind of complacent, but they really understood, 77% of people, they want to see a recent review. And I think the thought process there is everyone knows that personnel changes, and maybe they want that crew that got like 3 phenomenal reviews just recently, because maybe they'll get that crew and they want that kind of work habit going on in their house. So make sure your reviews are current. So yes, Google reviews, they're mission critical. One of the maybe more important things that you could do is you could ask yourself, you type in your money word, which in the basement waterproofing, it's going to be basement waterproofing. In the foundation repair industry, it's probably going to be, foundation repair. So type that in and see, really try to think and feel like, what is your customer feeling? Like, what motivated them to finally sit down in front of their computer screen and type the phrase basement waterproofing in? Chances are that problem had been going on for a while, whatever they have. Maybe it's a crack in the wall. Maybe it's twice a year there's a heavy rain and they get some water in the corner. Whatever it is, maybe they finally got some money and this has been on their list. It's now time to take action. But whatever their motivation is, try to get yourself in the mindset of that person and realize they probably don't know who to trust, because this is kind of like a one-time type of a purchase, right? It's not something you do 2-3 times a year to get basement waterproofing. It's not like buying a pair of gym shoes or something, or once a year or every other year, you're going to buy a new pair. So it's a big purchase and you rarely ever do it. So then you have to ask, well, who would I trust? If I were to do that in this area, I just typed in Wyoming, Michigan, basement waterproofing. And if I had to pick one of these 3 companies, I certainly would pick the one with 191 reviews. In sales, we say customers can be like sheep. They like to follow what other people do. If the 2 competitors have only 64 or even 7 reviews, obviously someone's picking this bigger company for a reason. Notice that I said bigger. I don't really know if they're bigger. I know this one is, but just because they have 191 reviews doesn't necessarily mean that they're bigger. But people like bigger because they tend to feel safer, generally speaking. There is an assumption there. If you have a lot of reviews, you're bigger than you are. So that's an interesting point there. So typically the person will click, it says more listings. So you click that and then you have the map and there's a lot of them. And now you're able to see, 10 or 20. And so that's kind of your competition. So you've got owners don't like to do this, but try to view your company in the eyes of a customer that doesn't know you and that doesn't trust you. Like, how would they know that you really, really care about the quality of your work that you do and the crews care and you care about their house and them and their family? Like, how would they know that if you're not getting reviews? All right, here's another one. I typed in Sterling Heights, Michigan. This is a different EverDry, but here's one with 312 reviews. And then here's 2 competitors with 21 and 8. Out of these 3, who would you call? One of them doesn't even have directions. It's like, do they have a building? They have 8 reviews. I'm kind of assuming that one of them is the wife or the owner or the husband, depending on who owns it. And then maybe there's a couple friends. I don't know, but I'm not calling them. Now, if people are going to get 3 estimates, they're going to look at more companies and it's going to view more listings and see who else is out there. But certainly this one is going to be a contender. It's going to be one of the 3 that I'm going to call, all because of reviews. So why are reviews so critical? Well, they impact Google rankings. So it's actually, when you type in, I'll go back here, when you type in this phrase and you have the Google ads on top, and then you have your 3-pack, this is called the local SEO. Part of the algorithm of who shows up here, it's not just geography, but it's really number of reviews. It's an important ranking factor. It's also the quality of reviews that are in there. So Google's algorithm, they actually have a patent on this. That's why we know that they have this in their algorithm. They're able to identify the positive sentiment of a review, and then they can give that attribution to a company to say, hey, this is a great company because they not only have a lot of reviews, but the quality of reviews are really good. So then 88% of consumers will look online for reviews. We've all done it. Every single one of us have looked at reviews before a major purchase. Now, if you're going to buy a gallon of milk at the grocery store, you're probably not going to look at the reviews. Why? Well, not spending much money. There's not much risk there. If you are spending between, $7,000 and $20,000, you bet, because you don't want to get ripped off. You want to make sure they're doing a great job. You want to know what kind of work they're doing. You want to know kind of all about this company. And so you're going to look at reviews. So it helps with your rankings. It helps turn someone that's viewing your listing into actually a lead. That's where we have a major ranking factor. And the one that I don't have here is it affects your sales. Your closing percentage will be higher if you have more views and higher quality of reviews. So why is controlling and managing your online reviews critical? I'm going to change that into how. Let me kind of give you some really specific things. I've always been a huge fan of customer reviews, like way back when. I mean, back in the day, we used to get a letter from the customer. Like our goal was our crews, we wanted them to not only bring a check back or the signed paperwork after a job, but on 90% of those jobs, we wanted a letter. And we wanted that letter to be everything that we had, we had a fundamental build of our sales process. And ideally, we wanted that letter to reflect the sales process in everything that we said. It wasn't like, hey, your crew did a nice job. We were really looking for, hey, we look forward to using that healthier space. And then we were really proud of that. We were super proud in our culture of creating a satisfied customer and really helping them understand who our company was and how we were different and why they made our purchase. So I came from a culture that we're doing letters, and then we just flipped that over to customer reviews when the time happened, when Google reviews became so critical. So this first point, provide a world-class experience. For that one, I want to say that there's a principle, it's called the law of reciprocity. And when you over deliver on something and then you ask for something in return, there's a much higher probability that you're going to get something in return. So, the phrase under promise, over deliver, that applies here. But you can go further. So I know some of you have subcontractors that install the work, and the majority of you have your own crews. So what I like to have happen is for the production manager, when that crew comes in and the foreman's holding the work card and they turn in the check and the finance work and signed off on credit card and everything that we need. I like that production manager in the debriefing to ask, what did you do over and above? What did you do that they didn't expect? The two common areas that our crews typically tried to over deliver. One of them is sometimes people have that old concrete sink in their basement, and it's disgusting and it's dirty. And we would break it up for them for free, and we would go to Home Depot and buy a $40, $50 sink and install it for free. And it just looks so awesome and beautiful. And it's not hard to do, and it's pretty inexpensive. And that was always like oh my goodness. Not only did I get my basement waterproof, but I have the cleanest sink. And when I do wash, I'm looking at that thing and it's beautiful. And so that's just one, people like to talk about a relationship with a customer is like a bank account. It's a deposit and it's a withdrawal. That's a huge deposit that you're making in their relationship with the customer. So a second common area is most older homes have some bush somewhere that's ugly and gross, and they've wanted it out. And we did outside work on our stuff along with inside. And for us to dig up a bush and drag it to the curb for pickup or whatever their laws are with picking up that kind of things, we would help customers out. And that was just huge. I mean, it was an above and beyond thing. So that's, and I didn't even talk about your system. Like, I'm assuming that all the other things like, covering everything before you start to eliminate dust and installing high quality work according to the specs that you're selling and making sure everything's right and testing it and having outstanding communication during the job and when you're closing down at nighttime, in the morning, and so on. That's all assumed. Initially, I was just talking about kind of the above and beyond things. Another practical thing is to really focus on a company culture. I realize I'm unpacking some of these a little bit here, but these are really critical. So I find companies at four different levels for reviews. So the first company is the company that stumbles across a review every now and then, or every now and then they think, wow, this customer just loves us. I'm going to ask for a review. That's one company. The second company, it's the owner that says, yeah, customer reviews are critical. I'm going to take ownership of this thing. And we owners tend to be overly responsible and we take on everything. And so, yep, customer reviews they're critical and I'm going to do this. And so they add it to their 20 different things that they're doing. They're running around with their head cut off. And we humans have a limited capacity. And what happens is things happen. There's not a lot of margins in our life. And so something gets squeezed. And so maybe it's that new habit or that new thing they're trying to head up and get a bunch of customer reviews. It falls through the cracks. I've seen that happen. The third company is the owner that recognizes the need and importance of customer reviews, but they also recognize that they have limited resources and they're already running around with their head cut off and there's too many things going on. And to really have this happen, they need to delegate it, which is great. So they delegate it to a person and they sometimes, get somewhere. And that person tends to call after jobs, like a few days after a job is finished, and they say, hey, were you happy with the job? How'd everything go? Great. Would love a big favor. If I send you a link, would you be able to leave us a review on Google, whatever it is? And people get reviews that way. I wouldn't call it a company culture, but they get reviews that way. Or on occasion, they'll get an email list of all the jobs they did last month, and they send just one broadcast email and they say, hey, I hope you're happy with the job. Please give us a review. It's like the third level. I would encourage and support, in my opinion, the best level, and that is like a company culture of reviews. And the company that has a culture of reviews, it's not the owner, it's not just the owner, it's not just like whoever got to delegate it, it's really everybody, and everyone in the company understands how important customer reviews are. So what that could look like is for example, like first of all, it could start with a meeting and just meeting with the key players, anyone who's heading up a crew or everyone on the crew, or it could be a company-wide meeting, just talking about some of these principles that I've talked about with the importance of customer reviews. And then it could be an acknowledgement of where you're at. Let's say you're at 12 customer reviews. And then it's good to set a realistic goal of how many you think you can get at the end of, say, a month or at the end of 3 months, and then a plan of how you're going to get there. And I like the idea of posting that number on a wall. And I also like the idea of setting a prize and listing it right on there, saying if we have whatever, what I say, 11 company reviews, at the end of 2 months, we want 20. And that's good. You basically double your reviews in 2 months. I mean, it's a start. Key to success is you got to walk before you can run. So post that on the wall, hold yourself accountable to pay out whatever that is. Decide on a prize, figure out a budget. Like, how much money would you spend? Like, let's say you'd spend $200 to get to motivate your staff to get 9 more reviews over a 2-month period. How does your staff want to spend $200? I don't know. Do you take them out to lunch? Something that they would want to do, something that would motivate them. So get everybody involved. But then you can't stop there. You have to do more. You have to educate them. I am a believer in having that customer review seed be planted in the sales process. Sometime when you cover credentials, you want to talk about your customer review. And then when you're closing, you want to talk about how important customer reviews are, because we're not only looking to get paid for the job, we're really looking to create raving fans. And ultimately, we would love for you to post a review so you could let others know what a great job we did for you. So you're planting that seed in the sales process. And then you need to train your crews that when they open up that job and they're doing a walk around explaining what they're doing, they're bringing up that customer review thing again. And they're saying, hey, at the end of this job, we're not looking just to get paid. We're really looking to create a raving fan. And we'd love for you to give us a review. Are you comfortable with that? Okay, great. And then you might want to bring that up. If it's like a 3-day job, you could bring that up again. And then you're going to bring it up at the time of the close, after they pay you. You want them to post a review on Google, and then you want to send them that link right on the spot. So it's kind of like a plant. You can't just have this plant and say, yell at it and tell it to grow. You've got to have good soil. You've got to have good sunlight. You need good conditions. You got to water that. So that's the sales rep, that's the tech, that's the crew, and that's the crew over delivering in that job, going above and beyond. It's also the sales rep not over promising. You want to under promise and over deliver. And then that's also the owner that is reinforcing this and checking in with the crews to see how the relationship is going with the customer, and posting that on the wall and acknowledging and rewarding the staff. And when you have a staff meeting, I would encourage you to start every meeting and read the last 2 customer reviews. And people love acknowledgement. So people like acknowledgement, actually, according to a Harvard study, more than pay. They want to be acknowledged for their work. So if you have a good customer review, I bet you there was someone that answered the phone. And I bet you there was someone that booked the appointment and sent the sales rep out, and the crew installed it. And there's so many different parties involved that every single person involved in the touch of that customer can be acknowledged in a staff meeting. And it's a great way to create company culture. All right, that was a long one. Most of these are not going to take that long, but there's some great practical steps in there for you to just try to take a couple steps there. All right, so love this line. Let me go back. Hopefully it will stay there. What you measure, inspect, and celebrate, you create more of. Man, this is powerful. Like, kind of go through your day or week or month and ask yourself, what are you measuring? What are you inspecting? And what are you celebrating? Sometimes we measure, inspect, and celebrate the wrong things. And we really need to be aware of what we are measuring, inspecting, and celebrating. Now, if customer reviews are, you've kind of bought in, you're like, you know what? All my advertising dollars are affected by customer reviews. This affects lead generation. This affects my ranking in Google. It's part of the algorithm. This affects my sales and closing percentage. We've got to better communicate to our customers the great work that we do. If you believe that, then you've got to measure that. You've got to inspect it and you've got to celebrate it. So love this saying, really allows things to come to the light. All right. So leverage best-in-class tools to request reviews. Use email, SMS, which is text. Some people will, if you're a little bit old school or just kind of a fourth backup plan, they'll leave like a card on this is how you post a review, go to this link. It's a little bit challenging to like retype a bit.ly link or some kind of a long link. It's easy to get a misspell in there and then people get distracted. So that's why I'm a believer in just doing it right there, right now, and asking for that review and saying, if I could have your cell phone number, I could just text you the link and I could help you get that review posted right there and right now. I think that's the best way to do it. Timing is important. That question of when is the best time to ask for a review, which will give you like the highest probability of getting a review, I would say it's at the finish. When you could finally get out of their hair, when you've done a great cleanup, when they're most satisfied and they're looking through and they're dreaming about how they're going to now use their basement, that it's dry and healthy and usable, that's when it's best to ask for a review. So you want to use email and text. What our system is, we encourage our contractors to ask for their cell phone, just like I told you, text the link to them, or they could email that link. And then there is some automation. If for some reason it didn't work out, that they're going to get either a text or an email in 2 days, and then in 4 days and 6 days, just to kind of try to stay in front of them. But hopefully you're going to get that review right at the end of the job. All right, so acknowledge and respond to every review. So if you were to look at your reviews right now on Google, I'm guessing the majority of you do not respond to every review. If you put your mindset back into the thought process of a customer, and a customer that doesn't know you and they don't trust you, because by nature we tend to be cynical to protect ourselves, what do you see as the advantage of responding to every review, good or bad? If I'm answering the question, I would say, oh, I like this company because no matter what gets posted, they respond right away. And if I had a problem, I know they'd respond right away. So imagine the customer feeling like they're getting ripped off or screwed, or you're doing something they don't like, which is a fear. I know it's extremely uncommon because in today's world, everything's got to be documented, but it's still a fear that lingers. They know, based on looking at perhaps even years of your Google listings and your responses, that if they were to post something, you'd respond. You'd be on that. And it's a reflection of your company. It's a reflection of your, quite honestly, great management and leadership skills. If you have a company that does that, and you should be doing that. So it is really important that you respond to every review. And the majority are, oh, we love having the crew over. They did such great work. We're happy to be using our basement finally after all these years. And then try to respond in a personal way. Like, try to make each response unique and try to acknowledge who that person is and something unique about them, about their house. And that goes a long way. And it also makes it look like it's not canned. All right. So curious, out of those, here's your chance to chat with me. Out of those, which one do you think you can, which one do you think you could work on? If you could type something in the chat, that would be great. I am going to kind of briefly review these. So we have provide world-class customer experience. We have build online review reputation into your company culture. What you measure, inspect, and celebrate, you'll create more of. Let's see. This is a little bit over responsive. You want to leverage the tools that are available, use SMS and text, and then you want to acknowledge every single review. All right. We have a 3. So this is a good one because it applies to so many different things. So yeah, you want to create more of, so you need to measure and respect. And then we have a 5. You've got to acknowledge every review. I agree. These are good. You could also go back to your old reviews. Even if you've never responded to reviews, feel free to go back to all of them and just type something in there and create a new habit and start responding to every single review when they come in. Right? So capture positive reviews from your customers. Now imagine having, 1,284 reviews. How much more would that affect your business? How much more would people trust you? How many more leads do you think would come in because they're looking at your listing and they're like, man, everyone goes with this company. So that's something you could work towards. So kind of a review of some of the things I said. Train your sales reps to plant the seed in their sales presentation about customer reviews. Train your crews to mention the review at the beginning of the job and then provide world-class service. And if you don't have a review at the end of the job, then have someone from the office call the customer, review the job, and then ask for the review. But also, make a call after the service to walk them through the customer review process. And then just build reviews and recognition into your company culture. So you want to post something on the wall, talk to your staff how important customer reviews are, acknowledge it, give them some kind of an award, and that goes a long way. And then leverage the tools that are available. But one just kind of precaution about tools, if you bought a hammer, the hammer's not going to pound the nail in. You've got to use it. If you buy a car, the car doesn't, well, it could drive itself, I guess, in today's world, but you get my point. You could have the greatest tools, the most expensive tools, because you want to be like the pros and get a lot of them. What's more important is that you create habits and routines and a company culture that gets reviews on a regular basis. So again, here's some of the best tools with automation. So again, Bird Eye's a big one. Podium is very popular. Nearby, there's one called Nearby Now, which is good, which kind of ties into SEO, and Service Titan is also a popular one. So this is kind of what you want to see. You want to continue to see more and more reviews on, higher and higher and higher with more of them. So this is a company that's just making it happen. They're getting a lot of reviews on a regular basis. How and why to respond to every review. So first of all, you want to put a system in place so that every review gets tracked and measured. So Google will send you an email to the Gmail account that you have on your review or on your account. And they'll let you know, hey, someone, just post a review, and I'll tell you if it's good or bad and what it is. That's one way. If you feel like emails kind of get lost, you can task someone on your team to sort of check it once a week. No matter what, you're going to respond to every review. I would recommend that. I would put it on your calendar just to kind of check every week. One, did we get any reviews, which might be a reflection of how good your system is? And then 2, if you have a review, are we responding? So make sure that system is in place. Habits form, 30 days, they say, but it sure is easy. It takes about 1 day to break a habit. So you really got to create that momentum and that discipline, that consistency to stay with those habits. So, formulate a strategy on dealing with negative reviews. Just a quick comment about negative reviews. When prospects are reading your reviews and there's a negative review, subconsciously, they're automatically siding with the customer. And even if it's total BS, they're believing it. And so if you come in and sound super defensive, don't, because you're going to look like you're just making excuses, and they're not going to like that. And there's a decent chance that you're going to lose leads if you have that on your listing. Another thing I would encourage you to do is, if it's legit and you guys really dropped the ball, I would acknowledge it. I would ask the customer to call you. I would reach out to them, and then I would explain what you did and what you're going to do differently, so something like that never happens again. I would also encourage you to reinforce your value system on how important it is that you do an outstanding job for every single customer, and their situation is no different. But it is very important that you respond to every review. So here's some examples of people responding to reviews. So here's, someone posted saying, hey, great work. And then respond, thanks for the positive review. We're pleased to know that you're enjoying a dry, healthy basement space, that you chose our company. We could be a future assistance. Give us a call. Thank you for selecting us and for revealing our positive view of our business with others. We strive to deserve acclimates like yours every single day, and we will never tire of hearing that we please our treasured customer. So that's just, actually, it's a beautiful response. It's a way to reinforce who you are, and it's just good communication. So I've covered a lot of material. If you have any questions on anything, or if you would like any help, we are here to help. One of the things that we do for people is we give them a strategy acceleration session, and we do some research in behind the scenes. When you do internet marketing, you can't really hide anything. So everything's kind of pretty visible. So we look at your online reviews, but we look at the important keywords and how you're ranking on those. We look at your directory listings, consistency, your social presence, your website conversion factors, all sorts of things that affect lead generation, that ultimately affect, sales and profitability. So if we could be of help, please give us a call or go online. We have some things that you could fill out as well to get that information.